let's continue on our holiday joy cider trip. I like that, cider trip. And we're going to go ahead and take a sample of our cider. Last time I took a sample was about 3 weeks ago, and when we took that sample, it was at, oh my goodness, I hate these plastic. I should have really gotten the keg land. I do have them, but I'll have to change them out next time. Last time we took that sample, it was at 0.990, which is insanely low. So we're gonna go ahead and take another sample. This line was cleaned and sanitized, so we just go ahead and purge out all of that wonderful sanitizer fluid in there. We're gonna go ahead and take another sample right now. I'm gonna fill it up to 250 milliliters. Okay, so this is 200 milliliters. And when I took a sample of this last time, I had tasted something that tasted more like the tannins were kind of taking over the flavor profile, and I really wanted the acid to be the primary flavor profile here, and it was not present as much as I would like. Go ahead and put that in there and give this a nice good spin around to see where it's going. Okay. And this time when I took the sample, it is exactly 1.0. Is it exactly 1.0? Turn around, baby. Yeah, it's exactly 1.000. This is dry, real dry. Off camera, I went and took off the magnets, started doing the dry spice addition to that, and I also added pectic enzyme to cause the yeast to cause all the pectins in here to drop out of solution. And boy, do I say, it is making a wonderful clear cider now that that haze is starting to clear. I'm thinking that it probably needs a couple more weeks to clear. There's lots of ways to stabilize a cider: pasteurization, pulling out the yeast via filtering, or freezing and pulling out the yeast plug. And then there is also chemical stabilization, and that's what we're going to be doing today. In order to chemically stabilize, you need to stop the yeast two processes of basically creating their ability to metabolize sugar and their ability to reproduce. So potassium sorbate stops the yeast from being able to reproduce. So the colony you have in here is all the colony of yeast that it'll have after you add potassium sorbate. The dosing rate for potassium sorbate is 1/2 teaspoon per gallon. So we're going to be adding 3 teaspoons, which is equal to 1 tablespoon. And then the dosing for Camden tablet is 1 Camden tablet per gallon. So at 6 gallons, we're going to be adding 6 of these. And what potassium sorbate does is it stops the yeast from being able to bud and reproduce. The yeast produce asexually, and this stops their ability to bud. Camden tablets are a little bit more complicated. People think that Camden tablets kill yeast. And while wild yeast typically does not like the presence of sulfur dioxide, which is what Camden tablets produce, Camden scavenges oxygen, well, the SO4 inside of here. So this is potassium sulfate, and that prevents the yeast from restarting their fermentation, because at the beginning of yeast fermentation life cycle, they need oxygen to reproduce. So if you scavenge all the oxygen in here, it makes it so they cannot produce more, can't metabolize sugar, and it allows you to basically say that no more yeast are able to be come in here. But in order to do that, when you're doing this, the fermentation has to have stopped. So that's why I've taken multiple measurements here. The first measurement I took was on the 22nd of February, and this is the 13th of March. So having those two measurements means that I have a time-lapsed view of this to make sure that we have completely stopped our fermentation, which I am confident that we have. So what we're going to be doing is going to be nuking some water in the microwave, about 4 ounces of water in the microwave. We're going to be adding it into, we're going to be adding our potassium sorbate and our potassium metabisulfite, or Camden, into this hot water, and then putting it into here, and that's going to stabilize the cider. We're going to let it sit for a few days, a few weeks. It doesn't really matter. The potassium metabisulfite will eventually off-gas and leave the fermentation vessel, the pressurized vessel here. and we may need to add it again after our aging process is done. But the potassium sorbate has a pretty long life cycle when you add it to the cider, so that's going to pretty much stop all of our yeast reproduction. So the combination of these two plus time equals stabilized cider, and that allows us to go ahead and back sweeten and pressurize the cider via kegging. So that's our process we're going to be doing. While that's cooking in the microwave, what we're going to do is actually vent this to atmospheric pressure so we can open up the caps. So we're going to vent this to atmospheric pressure, and we might see some bubbling. It's a wonderful, wonderful smell in there. Go ahead and vent it up here, and then turn our cap so that it lies on top of the pressure relief valves. Open this, or take this bad boy off. My goodness, that is firm. And then we're going to go ahead and remove the cap right over here. So, might take a minute. My hands are kind of wet. So, I'm actually going to go and get some channel locks to get that off. All right, channel locks. Man, never know when you're going to need them. All right, pressure's going to vent a little bit more. Should be at atmospheric, but you know, not everything works the way you'd like it to. Going to keep that up so it doesn't touch anything. And now, have our very hot and dissolved Camden tablets. We have a sanitized funnel. Go ahead and do it like this. And then just pour this hot liquid into here. And that will start some foaming. And we're going to want to go ahead and get our cap back on, close our pressurized valve, and let this sit. So I'm not concerned about oxygen introduction right now because we just added potassium metabisulfite. That's going to scavenge any oxygen we just put in there, and the off-gassing that we're going to have while we do this is going to allow us to ensure that we have a nice blanket of CO2 or sulfur dioxide on top of it. It should come out of the solution pretty easily. What I'm going to do off camera is I'm actually going to take this into our gas area downstairs where we have all of our kegs, and I'm going to go ahead and put a blanket of CO2 on top of this so that it is nice and protected from oxygen. This is going to sit for a couple weeks, and then it's going to be placed on oak, and then it'll be the next time you see me. Hi everybody, welcome back. We are at the tasting slash finishing phase of our cider. So this cider is the Imperial cider. It's going to be a spiced holiday cider, and it's about to be put on oak and aged, but as a part of that process, we want to make sure that we test our cider, or taste it, as we go, and before aging is a good time to taste it. So I'm going to go ahead and take a sample. So on the nose, it's very appley. Very appley. It's dry. It's good tartness, not too overwhelming, not too harsh. The aging for the past 2.5 months that it's been on definitely helped out. Good amount of tannin too. It's like it has a lingering kind of apple flavor too. The alcohol actually isn't too overwhelming. This is at 9.9%. So I would be expecting to taste some alcohol content in here, and I can't taste it off original, initial tasting. So let me see if I can get it by doing a slurp. Even still, heat's kind of died down quite a bit. The spice, it's there. It kind of has this nice warming sensation to it, but it's not entirely overwhelming right now. So we're going to go ahead and proceed to phase 2, which is go ahead and keg this up and let it age on oak. We have our oak that we have selected, which is a medium plus French oak. We are going to be coating that when we put it inside the keg in this extract of allspice, nutmeg, cinnamon, and ginger and orange peel. that has been extracted using brandy. So we're going to go ahead and coat that stick there to kind of kill anything that's on the surface of it. And then we're also going to be back sweetening with a can of apple juice concentrate, which is just going to go directly into it. Since this cider has been stabilized, we can actually directly put the back sweetening and the oak into our keg to age. This second keg that we have over here, this second keg is keg filled with sanitizer. So we're actually going to go ahead and sanitize this keg. It's been cleaned, but we need to sanitize it, get it all mixed around in that keg over there. And because we're sanitizing from keg to keg, it's going to sanitize the dip tube at the same time too, so that's great. And during the process of transferring, we're going to use this spunding valve with this auto flow stop attached to it, and it's going to go ahead and allow us to transfer from keg to keg, or sorry, from our pressurizer, our fermenter over here, this Kegland Fermzilla all-rounder, and we're going to go ahead and put it into here. I did add some Biofine to it. Biofine I used at a quarter teaspoon for this 6-gallon batch, and I gave it an extra bit of time to clear. Biofine effectively acts as if it is a positively charged ion. It pulls all the negatively charged ions down. This had a lot of free protein haze in it, and I really wanted to clear that out before I put it into secondary. So this has been sitting with Biofine for about 2 to 3 weeks, and it's cleared out pretty nicely. So nice, beautiful caramel color. So we're going to go ahead and put this. We're going to go ahead and sanitize this keg now, and then we'll go ahead and put our back sweetening oak and spices into secondary, and we'll go ahead and let that age for 6 months. So the next time you see a video will be when this is a tasting after aging. If you're looking for the process of back sweetening an already carbonated drink, I have a video that shows the process here. I haven't really seen how other people do their processes online. I looked around for a few videos, couldn't find any, so I decided to make my own to help people out on how to do this. But we're going to be following that process to back sweeten this cider and in this keg. So the next video you see will be a test of a flavor test after aging. And if I have any leftover of this cider, we can test an A to B spiced and back sweetened versus dry and aged. So it'll be a nice, interesting test if we have some left over. If not, it'll just be the back sweetened and aged cider in this keg. So we'll see you in the next video.